Hello YouTube, this is Gary and welcome to my first calculus lesson, the branch of mathematics that led to most of the technology we use today. By the end of these lessons, you will be able to do what you never thought was possible. But first, before you're able to do all that, you have to understand what limits are and how to solve them. So, what is a limit? A limit is a value a function approaches as the x value approaches a value. In other words, the limit of f of x as x approaches c is the value f of x approaches as x approaches c. So if you did not get that, then let's do some examples to help you understand it. So the limit of -1/2 x plus 1 as x approaches 3. So basically what we're going to ask is, as the x value approaches 3, what does the y value approach? So here we have a graphical representation of the function -1/2 x plus 1. I used metacalculator.com to graph this. So, and as you can see, as x approaches 3, the y value approaches -0.5. And yeah, you can calculate this without graphing. To do that, simple, just substitute 3 in for x, and you should end up with the answer -0.5. See, it's as simple as that. Now, let's go through this one. The limit of x squared plus 1 as x approaches 2. So, here's another graphical representation of this. And what we're basically asking is, as x approaches 2, what does the value of y approach? And yeah, the value of y approaches 5. And how can you calculate that? Simple, just directly substitute 2 in for x. And you should end up with the answer of 5. And so, that was easy, wasn't it? Let's do something a little trickier. Here we have this function, and notice if you try to substitute 3 in for x, you actually end up with 0 over 0, which that doesn't tell you what your answer is. So how do you solve this? Okay, first of all, let me show you how you can estimate this. Just plug in values for x and then like make them, try to get them closer to 3 and see like as x is getting closer to 3, what the value does it look like y is approaching. I prefer you do it from both sides because it's possible that the function approaches a different value from both sides. But apparently in this case for both sides, the y value is approaching 7. So we can assume that our limit as x approaches 3 is 7. And how do you calculate this? Well, first, okay, let's have our graphical representation. So as you can see, it's a straight line. Why it might not look like a straight line if you first look at it, but if you factor this and divide by x minus 3, you can see that this is the line of y equals to x plus 4, except there's a hole at x equals to 3, and why is there a hole there? Because if you plug in 3 here, you would get a 0 in the denominator, which you cannot divide by 0, so no point exists at x equals 3. So let's see, how can you actually calculate? Well, let me just say this first. The value of y, it would approach 7. So the value of y approaches 7. So even there's a hole in it. We're not asking like what's the value of y at x equals 3. We're asking what value does y approach as x approaches 3. So how do you actually calculate it? Well, first you need to know how to factor. So if you're watching these videos, I'm assuming you know how to factor already. If not, then you need to learn this. So if you factor x squared plus x minus 12, you get the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x minus 3. And now you can cancel out x minus 3, and now you have x plus 4. And now you can substitute 3 in for x. And if you substitute that in, you get 7. 7 is the correct answer. Okay, so now, using what you just learned, try to solve this one. Notice, if you plug in 4, you again get 0 over 0. So, yeah, just pause the video and try to solve this. and I'll give you a solution in a moment. Okay, let's estimate. Let's get values of x from both sides of x equals 4, and you can see that as x is getting closer to 4, y seems to be getting closer to 1.5. So we can assume that the limit as x approaches 4 is 1.5. So how do you calculate it? Just here you would actually factor both the numerator and the denominator. So if you factor out both the numerator and denominator, you should get this. And now cancel out the quantities of x minus 4, and you get the x plus 5 over x plus 2. Now substitute 4 in, you get 9 over 6. Simplify, you should get 3 out of 2. Okay, so now let's go through a different kind of example. Like here, notice if you directly substitute in 4, you once again you get 0 out of 0. Oh, and now there's nothing to factor. Like neither from the numerator and denominator you can factor. So how do you solve this? Let's estimate. So what's our estimation? You can see as x approaches 4 from both sides. From both sides, the y value seems to be approaching 0.250. So we can assume that our limit as x approaches 4 is about a quarter. So how can you calculate it? Well, you're gonna have to, first of all, let's get rid of that radical for the numerator. So, and to get rid of that radical, we need to multiply by the conjugate. So, root of x minus 2, the conjugate would be root of x plus 2. And if you're multiplying the numerator by that value, also have to multiply the denominator by that value. Because, or else the fraction would not be the same, obviously. So, multiply these together and you get x minus 4, so you got rid of that radical. Now, do not multiply these out, just leave it in this form. And now, cancel out x minus 4, and you should get 1 over root of x plus 2. Now, directly substitute in 4, and you should end up with the answer of 1/4. Okay, last example. So, remember, first of all, I'm going to have you pause the video and solve this problem now, and just remember, use any strategy. You can use any strategies you learned in this video so far. And I'll give you the solution in a moment. Okay, so here's our solution. Estimate, you can see that from both sides as x approaches 8, the y value seems to be approaching 0.0147. So that's going to be our estimation, 0.0147. How to figure this out? Okay, first, you're going to need to factor, first, before we multiply by conjugate, let's factor the denominator. You should get the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x minus 8. Okay, let's multiply by conjugate. The conjugate of root of x minus 2 root 2 is root of x plus 2 root 2. Multiply this, you get x minus 8. Now, put all these quantities you're multiplying together in the denominator. Like I already said, do not multiply this out. Now, cancel out the quantity of x minus 8 from the numerator and denominator, and you should get 1 over the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of root of x plus 2 root 2. Substitute in 8 in for x, and 8 plus 4, obviously that's 12. Square root of 8, that's 2 root 2. 2 root 2 plus 2 root 2, that's equal to 4 root 2. Now, multiply this together, you should get 48 root 2. 1 over 48 root 2 is the correct answer. And if you like to, you can express that as a decimal. That would be approximately 0.01473. Okay, so that's gonna be all I have for you today. If you find this video helpful, please comment, like, or subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys later.